Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Michael Richman, a double board certified cardiothoracic surgeon. Today I want to talk to you about the delusion of life extension and why longevity medicine fails to confront the biological reality of life. In the modern wellness industry, the allure of longevity is tantalizingly woven into the fabric of our society's cultural consciousness. Advocates of longevity and biohackers and wellness tout various interventions from dietary regimens to advanced medical therapies. They promise to extend our lives beyond natural limits. Yet if you think about it, this enticing narrative is riddled with a significant philosophical paradox. Unless one possesses insight into their biological clock and the myriad genetic expressions that dictate life and death, their claims surrounding the ability to extend life by manipulating health are largely unfounded and kind of wacky. Indeed, the argument can be made that despite the burgeoning field of epigenetics, the belief in our ability to control life's natural trajectory is fundamentally flawed. Indeed, many of the longevity practitioners, biohackers, whatever you want to call them, just prey on the fears of human suffering for profit only. They know full well that the promises they make are completely false and without merit. To begin with, the reliance on genetics to ascertain the causality of diseases speaks volumes about the limits of control we can exercise over life expectancy. For example, the mutations associated with lung cancer, such as EGFR mutations, MET amplifications, and ROS1 rearrangements, well, these genetics aberrations are not merely random occurrences. They are integral aspects of an individual's biology that we cannot alter. Similarly, the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes, which increase somebody's risk of developing ovarian and breast cancer, for example, are potential indicators of heightened risk, a truth that underlines our lack of authority over the genetic destinies handed down to us. Instead of viewing these genetic factors as obstacles, however, the longevity narrative strives to recast them as manageable variables, which they are not, and this effectively downplays their implications. The persistence of this narrative hinges on our intrinsic desire for agency over our health and lifespan. Claims of extending life have propagated an illusion of control, as though a better diet, regular exercise, or cutting-edge therapies that often are fake and false and misleading can outsmart our genetics. It is critical to confront the reality that we do not possess complete dominion over our biological compositions. I think we can all agree. The truth emerges starkly. While external factors like environment and lifestyle choices certainly play pivotal roles in our health, they do not negate the heavy hand of our genetic blueprint. This is where the modern fascination with epigenetics enters into play. Epigenetics, which is the study of changes in gene expression without altering the DNA sequence itself, invites us to consider a more nuanced relationship between our genetic predispositions and our environments. Proponents argue that lifestyle modification can influence gene expression, thereby presenting a possible avenue to enhance health and longevity. However, the assertion that we can manipulate these epigenetic factors to achieve substantial longevity veers into questionable territory. The optimistic rhetoric surrounding epigenetic risks oversimplifying the convoluted dance between genetics and environment. While it is true that our lifestyle choices, which include diet, exercise, stress management, can indeed impact gene expression, it is equally valid to recognize the intricate web of biological interactions that define human health. For every success story of epigenetic modification, untold stories result in failure, illustrating the limits of our interventions. Additionally, the idea that lifestyle can completely eclipse genetic potential introduces yet another philosophical quandary, the ethics of longevity. If we accept the premise that lifestyle modification can significantly alter an individual's health trajectory, do we not also risk attributing personal failure to those who cannot implement these changes? This line of thinking raises uncomfortable questions about accountability, blame, and privilege in accessing the resources necessary for such transformations. One of the central debates in discussions about lifespan extension is the distinction between extending the number of years lived versus the quality of those years. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer famously suggested that an increased lifespan might not necessarily result in an increase in the overall happiness or fulfillment of an individual. This calls into question whether we should prioritize extending life if the added years may not be lived in good health or mental well-being. Ultimately, the pursuit of longevity through artificial means embodies a deeper existential dilemma. As we grapple with the inexorable reality of mortality, there's an inherent tension between our desire for control and the acceptance of fate. Inserting ourselves into the narrative of extended life can offer a seductive sense of empowerment, but it frequently negates the profound truth that life and death remain, at their core, elements beyond our control. Death has traditionally been viewed as an integral part of life, shaping human experiences, relationships, and motivations. Extending lifespan through medical means, if possible, prompts questions about what it means to live a, quote, full, end quote, life. If death is an inevitable part of the human experience, altering this cycle may challenge the very meaning we ascribe to our lives and experiences. Does prolonged life enhance the quality of existence, or does it detract from the urgency and significance of our actions? The belief in significantly extending human lifespan entails a broader philosophical consideration about the role of technology in shaping human evolution and existence. So what does this do? Well, it raises inquiries into the moral responsibilities that come with such power. Can we ethically manipulate our biology, and to what end? What constitutes a good life if we start to view ourselves through the lens of continuous improvement or enhancement? Good question. Okay, so I know that was deep today, but I think it's important to talk about so-called wellness versus the longevity hope, because, like I said, unless we really have insight into our biological life, in other words, when we are going to die, how do we know, or how can we extend those years? And the point is, we don't know. But what we can do is maintain and live a happier life and try and stay in good health. But remember, we can't alter our genetics at this point, and maybe never. All right, so with that, I hope you had a great day. I hope you learned something today, and thank you so much for listening. For more information, you can go to my website at www.paladinmds.com.